as Heather was reminding us, it's always a fine day to be sailing. And that was the concorn that's going to get us started. Welcome, everybody. If you are out still, come on in, get a seat. We've got plenty of seats here. We want to get everybody seated and within microphone or speaker distance, because I know it is kind of hard. I'm going to really try to get as close to this as possible without feeling uncomfortable. So welcome, and thank you all so much for being here today. I am Mayor Joe Burns, and yeah, I know what you're thinking. I'm freakishly tall for a Sausalito mayor. But I really am the current mayor, and anytime that we usually have public events like this, we thank all the dignitaries, electeds, and former electeds, and we introduce them individually. Except for a celebration of Herbie, which would take way too long, and the food would spoil. So I just want to acknowledge the many people here today who have served on councils and committees and have worked with Herbie over the many years to make our community what it is. So all of you, thank you very much for being here. I am so honored to be here for Herbie, representing past and present city council members. A role that Herbie was most famously known for, yet as you will hear today, a role that paled in all that he provided to a person and to a community. My job as mayor is to achieve a consensus of the council. Therefore, we believe that all of those that served with Herb over the many years will agree that he was the epitome of commitment, humble strength, a lot of levity, strategic brevity, work ethic, and genuine kindness. I will now entertain a motion. Any second? All in favor? That passes everyone to 0. It's already a good meeting. In the years leading up to my council involvement and the 5 short months that we served together, and then the many discussions we had right here on this lawn while Enzo and Coco sniffed about, Herb set the bar for how I want to serve my community. And he always will. Thank you, buddy. We all have a memory of the first time we met Herb. And out here today, right now, there's a couple hundred unique, individual, and different memories of that time we first met him. But in a very special way, every one of those meetings is exactly the same. And that was because it was Herb and what he gave to us. The Bay Area gave to Boston a guy named Tom Brady. And Boston gave us a guy named Herbert A. Weiner. I will make that trade every day of the week, and twice on Sundays. Wendy, Julie, Evan, Eli, we're sorry for your loss. And you put the love of this community for your brother and your uncle. And I thank you all for being here today. It's a wonderful day. We're celebrating a wonderful man. And Godspeed. Herbie.
Good afternoon. I'm Julie. on the flight here from Boston. I started to get a little sore throat and I've lost my voice, so shortening things a little bit, which I think is probably some divine intervention from Herbie, probably finally be quiet. I don't think he would have loved all of this, but we loved him, so. The speech I had prepared were some of my stories with Herbie, but what I found over the past couple of months, and especially over the past few days being here, is it felt more right to share the present, which we all know Herbie was all about the present. So I love this city of Sausalito. It's always been special since I came out here as a little girl to visit Herbie, and it's understandable why this is where he called home and created the family that he created. So I found a definition of family that I love the most, and it's a group of people who genuinely love, trust, care about, and look after each other. And I certainly felt that way about my uncle, and I know that all of you here felt the same way too. And now the cool part is that all of you here have made me and my mom and my husband and my son feel like we're part of your Sausalito family. So I think we're all connected by Herbie's energy, moxie, chutzpah, or just him being a stubborn pain in the ass. So it's with love and gratitude that I hope we all take a bit of that Herbie energy with us, as he gave it to us so unselfishly. Thank you.
So, good afternoon. My name is, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Ray Whittick. I'm a member of the Sausalito City Council. And you're going to hear today many, many things that Herbie did across a whole range of things. But I want to share with you today some very personal recollections about Herbie as a city council member and about Herbie as a politician. I knew Herbie for all of the almost 11 years that he was a city council member. He was a pragmatic, practical, generous, what I would call retail politician in an old-fashioned way. Now, what you may not know is that it's in large measure due to Herbie that even I got interested in local politics in the first place. I want to tell you that story. I remember back in 2010 or so receiving a postcard in the mail announcing there was to be a workshop several weeks thereafter on Sausalito's housing element, which was being updated. Now, I must admit, back then, I didn't know what a housing element was. And by the way, for those of you who don't know what it is, it's a chapter of our general plan. So I show up at the workshop on the Saturday morning, listened with interest, briefly chatted to Herbie, who I obviously knew, and just as the workshop ended. And then went home and didn't give it much thought. So now comes the real story. At 8:30, the following Monday morning, our doorbell rings. And standing there is Herbie, with a piece of paper in his hands. It was an application form for our boards and commissions. He said, "Ray, fill this in. You're joining the Housing Element Task Force." Wasn't sure there was one. I soon came to realize that it's very, very tough to say no to Herbie. And so, After interviewing with the council, I was appointed to the task force, and several years later, with Herbie's encouragement, I ran for city council. Herbie was a mentor to me on everything Sausalito. In the subsequent years, we collaborated on many things, including several ballot measure campaigns. These are some of my most treasured memories of Herbie. Meeting him here across the street in Poggio's early in the morning, loading the gear into the car, and driving through the neighborhoods to put up signs. Once, while putting up signs for our parks funding ballot measure, there I was in his car, clutching a list of 10 or so meager addresses that we were planning to visit. And then suddenly, Herbie noticed a man come out of his house with a young child in a stroller. He goes, "Ha ha, a target." Neither of us knew him. Herbie stops the car, jumps out, starts talking to the gentleman about our park funding, and the next thing we know, we have several neighbors joining in the conversation. By the time we're finished, we've put up 3 extra signs and obtained 3 endorsements. It's the way Herbie operated, basic, on-the-ground politics. That day we put up at least 15 more signs than the 10 originally planned. The city council meetings, Herbie would offer his homespun wisdom and his jokes. But beneath each comment was a well thought out and reasoned message. Often before a council meeting on a topic that I knew I could talk to Herbie about, because I hadn't talked to any other council member, I called him up and said, "Herb, man, I've got to talk to you." He replied, "Of course, come down to my office." Herb's office? Where was that? Well, it was here, downtown, where he could be found, directing traffic, organizing buses, reprimanding taxi drivers, and helping confused visitors so they could enjoy their visit to our town. We would walk around and talk, maybe stop for an ice cream, and talk through the politics of some complex issue. Herb's influence reached far beyond our city boundaries. He was a commissioner on the Transportation Authority of Marin. He was on the board of directors of Marin Transit. And in 2012, he was elected to the president of the Marin County Councils of Mayors and Council Members, MCCMC, which is made up of all the mayors and all the council members from the 11 cities and towns in Marin. With his usual generous, humorous, non-threatening way, he helped resolve several very difficult issues that the organization faced at that time. I also had the honor of being president of MCCMC until just recently, and I was very touched to receive numerous calls over the last months from council members across the county when learning of Herbie's passing, expressing their condolences to the residents of Sausalito and his family and friends. Everyone who Herbie touched were beneficiaries of his warm, generous personality. Herbie had a basic, fundamental philosophy that he was put on this earth to help people. Finally, I cannot help but recall the words of Shakespeare, who through the voice of Hamlet, while reminiscing on his late father, the King of Denmark, said, "He was a man that all in all, the likes of which we shall never see again." Herbie, I speak for it. We miss you and we thank you. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to join you in the celebration of the incomparable Herb Weiner. I am sequestered in Washington, D.C. right now, and because of a recent knee surgery, I'm unable to fly. Otherwise, I want you to know that I'd be there in person with all of you to join in remembering Herb and appreciating his numerous contributions to our community and the quality of our lives. Looking back on the depth and breadth of Herb's service to this special place, I think each of us can easily come up with fond memories and obviously many important accomplishments. From his hard work on the City Council, to his time on the Chamber of Commerce and the Sausalito Rotary, to many hours spent coaching Little League and even providing free rides to New Year's Eve revelers. Herb was not just a generous person, he was productive. His work on the Sausalito Art Festival helped to make it the widely successful annual event that it is, with 30,000 patrons from all over the county attending every year. I'll always think of Herb not just as a friend and a partner in public service, but also as a great, passionate, colorful, dedicated community leader and a Sausalito icon. We miss Herb, and we all feel like he's gone too soon. But let's not ever forget this wonderful ambassador for Sausalito and genuine public servant. Thank you.
That's not his bust. Well, I should say Sausalito shell, but we didn't have a shell, so we had to go with Mexico. So, I'm Mike Stone. I'm a best friend of Herb. First of all, I'd like to thank Adam and Osmar for being such great, great friends. Thank you. Herb loved Sausalito, and Sausalito loved Herb Weiner. Herb was a trip. Really. One of the things Herb was most proud of, though, was being a businessman and understanding business and serving people. He wasn't the smartest, most educated person, but he was street smart and understood human nature as best as anybody I ever knew. He would always sigh and say, "Look, Mike," and he gave you a different perspective that you didn't think of. That was Herb. He was like no other. He loved giving you words of wisdom. I came to town in 1988. One of the first people that I met welcomed me was Herb. We were in Rotary together, and I spent my first Labor Day, of course, with him on the corner of Bridgeway and Harbor. I'll never forget him yelling at the drivers and even slapping the window of a car because they didn't listen to him. California drivers, he would say, "Shit." I'd say to myself, this guy's aggressive. But like no other, he knew traffic flow and how to move cars. He even told the police what to do. He worked the art festival every year, taking care of parking, traffic, shuttling the artists all weekend for 30 years and put in countless hours. You knew it was Labor Day weekend when you saw him and Steve Vogel and a couple other guys putting up signs all over town for the week before the festival. Herb was Sausalito's Rodney Dangerfield. He had more one-liner Herbisms, as we refer to, that made us all laugh. Even when you were in a serious discussion, and I'm sure this happened to the city council a few times, right, Mary? But in moments or situations, he brought humor to the table and put a smile on your face. 20 years ago, Herb was in the car with myself and my two sons, and my sons were maybe 4 and 7. And Herb rolls down the window, we're driving down Bridgeway, and he yells to a biker, "Let me know if you see Kate." You'll get it. He would also tell my kids they had DDT, stand for dirt between their toes. They never forgot those squirts, and every time they would see Herb, they would ask him if he saw Kate. I would be in a meeting with Herb and tell him this idea wouldn't work, and he would say, "Hey, even the subways are underground." He was a kick and always made us laugh. As Tom Clark would say, Herbie had the heart the size of Texas with a Bostonian accent. How true. Herb was a giver. But Herb was a hero to many of us. Not a traditional hero, saving lives, winning a ball game, or leaping off a building to save someone. His intention was to help another person just for the purpose of helping them. He made life easier or better for us in many ways. Getting a car fixed, picking someone up from the airport, picking up a prescription, taking it to get a deal at the flea markets, parking buses, welcoming people off the ferries, picking up your kids from school, helping you figure out a problem, buying a car at the auction, or just being there for you. You knew you could always count on him. He touched more people in this community than anyone I know. There were so many little things he did to make a difference in our lives. And that's what I mean by being a hero. He was an everyday hero to me and many of us here. A community is nothing without its people, as Shakespeare would say. And this community was lucky enough to have Herbie. He made the community the special community it is. It's like no other, as Herbie was like no other. He would say each day is a gift, but in reality, he was the real gift to us. Adam texted me the day, I just want to share this with you. Adam texted me the day Herb had his event, and I happened to be at the hospital. Not knowing what happened or the severity, I went to the emergency. Adam was there with Herb, and Herbie smiled and said, "Holy schmoly." And we would call each other Holy schmoly, and sometimes he would double it up as Holy schmoly, holy schmoly. But so I told him he could, I said, "Herb, you're going to come out as a new man after this," not knowing what the severity of what it was. And right away he says, "I've changed my name to Newman." Here's a guy, okay, literally almost dying, okay, but he was still, I think, for the sake of me and Adam, because Adam and I were so concerned about it, that he was still caring about us. And Adam told them they were sending a helicopter to take him to Stanford. And Herb says, "I always wanted to go to Stanford." He must have thanked us a half dozen times for coming in. He had such a great amount of gratitude every day of his life, and was so thankful to other people when all of us were so thankful to him. So the helicopter comes, and Adam and I drive to Stanford. And we get to Stanford, and Adam and I got to see Herb right before he went into surgery. And Adam says, "Herb, how was the helicopter ride?" And only in Herb fashion, without a pause, he says, "It was a trip." Yes, what a wonderful trip he gave to us the whole time he was with us. Herbie gave us himself to this community, and his legacy will live on forever through all of us. We love you, Herb, and we will never forget you. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Jim Swindler. I'm the Golden Gate Ferry Division Manager. And thank you for the opportunity to share a few thoughts and stories about our dear Herb, our dear friend Herb. When I sat down to put my thoughts on paper, the first question that came to mind was what words truly define Herb. I'm sure there are many, but the two that came to my mind were doer and giver. Herb Weiner, a doer and a giver. The definition of the word doer is a person who acts rather than merely talking or thinking. A man of action. That was Herb. She was also a compassionate and thoughtful man. Herb was all of the above and much more. He was one that wouldn't forget anything he did to help a cause he was passionate about. Whenever Herb asked for something, it was never for himself, but instead, always for a good cause. And more often than not, for a group that needed help or for something that needed fixing. Herb never talked simply to hear himself talk, but he also wasn't bashful. And in the right setting, sometimes you couldn't shut him up, especially when the issue was important and he needed to be heard. Herb and I first met many years ago when he showed up in my office in the middle of the summer, pitching the idea of running ferry service to the arts festival from Roxbury. His idea was people would get off the 101 and park in our parking lot and take a leisurely ferry ride to the arts festival. Long story short, it didn't work. I think we carried more crew members back and forth that weekend than we did passengers. Regardless of this little area, Herb and I hit it off quite well. After all, he couldn't hear my accent, and the same was true for me. It was only a couple of years later that the tourists began to flock to Sausalito by ferry and then by bicycle. It was then that I began to spend a lot of weekends in Sausalito and learned that Herb's weekend job was very different than his weekday job as mayor and city councilman. Until that point, I didn't know that Herb was the bus coordinator for all tour buses and any other large vehicle that found its way behind the Bank of America. He spent most all of his mornings directing buses and customers. When Herb saw what we were faced with, increased tourists and bicycles trying to board the ferry, he quickly joined in to help and began coming up with ideas of how we could safely stage all these customers and bicycles. Without hesitation, and probably without permission, Herb quickly took the corner of the parking lot to my left We got the Department of Public Works to cordon it off and designate it for bike fueling. Herb to do it. With the bike step coming, Herb came up with yet another idea to even park, or even more space for bikes. I remember the day he told me. He said to me, Jim, I think I'm going to ask Adam and City Council to close Tracy Way so people can park their bikes and go have an ice cream cone. I remember thinking to myself, sure, this idea has two chances, swim and none. While late spring every year, Tracy Way is closed. And bicycle racks are put in place so visitors to Sausalito can park their bikes and have that ice cream cone. Once again, Herb to do it. I'd be exaggerating if I gave Herb all the credit for solving the bicycle problem, because there were many involved in this success. But as we all know, there has to be someone who is the leader, the director, who carries the ball to the finish line. That was Herb, again, to do it. Herb was always happy when things were going well, but this didn't mean we wouldn't see him around the ferry terminal anymore. After spending several hours directing bus traffic behind the Bank of America, Herb would magically appear at the ferry landing and often had bottled water for the staff, and without fail, several ideas and opinions on how we could do things better. He also wasn't bashful in appointing himself as a ferry staffer, and with his yellow traffic vest, probably looked more official than a good number of the ferry staff. It was not unusual for me to look up and see Herbie directing customers and providing information. As I said, he wasn't bashful, and he wanted to make sure the customers were following instructions. Herbie's approach to customer service was direct. There was no coaxing or suggesting something to a customer. Herbie loved signs, and I couldn't help but see the sign behind me. It reminds me of that. Well, some of the signs were helpful. Oh my goodness, they were ugly. They consisted of a piece of paper and a plastic sheet protector and were taped to anything that didn't move. Sometimes we used a printer, but more often than not, they were handwritten. I could go on and on with Herbie's stories, but I'll close by sharing with you what I think when I wonder why Herbie is no longer with us. When we lose someone like Herb, it's only natural to ask and wonder, why him? I'm sure many of us have asked that question when we've lost a loved one. My favorite answer is that God had another assignment. He needed that person. In this case, Herb. Somewhere, someplace, something needed to get done. While Herbie has left us, he will always be in our memories, especially when I find myself here at the Sausalito Ferry Landing. Thank you.
I'm chairman of the board of Sausalito Chamber of Commerce, and I have a business down the way here in Sausalito. I felt I had to start today's speech not my typical tone or voice, but in Herbie's. As I got up the past few days, I really turned to the weather to see what the weather would be like this weekend, especially for today's celebration of life. Now this is Herbie talking. Jeff, you know what's going to be busy in Sausalito this weekend? Herbie, how do you know this? Listen. Anytime it is over 70 degrees in Sausalito, it's going to be a busy day. Herb, I just look at the cameras in town and see if it's going to be a sunny day, and then we know it's going to be busy. Jeff, the key is 70 and over. Just remember that, 70 degrees and over. This is when people come from San Francisco and all over the Bay Area to Sausalito. These anecdotes and herbisms, as Mike Stone alluded to earlier, as I like to call them, always are keen useful at various times in our lives. You might not think much of them at the time he says something or does something, but he makes you a believer. especially about the weather. Herb held a special place in my heart, personally and professionally, as I knew him as a businessman, chamber president, art festival board member, spirited Marine winner, mayor, council member, dog lover, and friend. Herb was a simple man, but had many layers. Like an onion, you peel him back and find a vast knowledge until you get down to its core. Very soft-spoken, unless you started talking about bikes, buses, or ferries. Then you receive an earful of operational suggestions, whether you like it or not. He often shied for the limelight, but would always be behind the scenes making a difference, or making himself known in a Herbie type of way. We had a consistent car talks, as I call it, here at Spinnaker and Humboldt Drive. Talks where he jumped right in front of my car, and it would start out with Herbie asking, "Do you have a minute?" 30 minutes later, Herbie and I would still be discussing the topic of conversation, which he was very enthused and animated about, while, of course, wearing his safety vest to be one eye on me and one eye on the buses, traffic, and pedestrians walking by. Of course, occasionally stopping our conversation helps some either traffic flow or, of course, somebody needs help. I think his being able to multitask came from the gas station days, where he had one eye on the pumps and one eye on the car wash at all times. You always saw him running around the station doing multiple things at multiple times. These talks, of course, continued in directing traffic and parking buses until the last couple of years here. Even then, he kind of made his own little stops from time to time, where he'd, of course, direct traffic and talk to the bus drivers as well. But I want to talk now kind of a funny story about Herbie, as we're hearing many today. They call it Herbie and the Sandwich. So Herbie comes to my office one day, and he's talking about this chicken sandwich he had in Berkeley. He knew my passion for food, and wanted to share with me this chicken sandwich. He told me how great this sandwich was, how much flavor, and how it was so unique, and it's something I had to try. Our conversation continued for a bit longer, and Herbie left. I continued the day, kept working, and about 2 hours passed, and Herbie comes back to my office. He says, "I have your sandwich." I asked him, "What are you talking about?" He said, "I went to Berkeley to pick up the fried chicken sandwich. Here it is." So I cleared a place on my desk, which those who've been on my desk know is harder than that sounds, and we continued, of course, had our sandwich. And of course, ultimately seeing what that passion, enthusiasm that Herbie had, of course, about the sandwich, but about many other things. Always thinking outside the box, always wanting to try something new. What I noticed love about Herbie was he looked out for the little guy. Always remembered where he came from, and especially the kids. If there was not money for a kids program, Herbie would find the money or donations necessary. Herbie always kept me and others in the community grounded. Reminded us what was important. Quite a bit about buses and parking, of course, but about life. Would not get wrapped up in the drama, egos, or minutia, but would help people that need help and stay true to the task at hand, and of course, ultimately lead with your heart. Herbisms, while maybe quite simple, showed his passion, maverick side, and how to get things done. And as we heard today, and we'll still hear, man, did he get a lot done. My takeaway, what ultimately taught us is to be true to ourselves and follow our passion. What people may think, as long as it is what you believe in. Thank you.
It is such an honor to be with you. I am so sorry that I couldn't be there in person. I'm truly grateful to remember the amazing life of Herb Weiner. Herb was a rare breed. Everyone loved him because he was so uniquely Herb. When you met him for the first time, you felt like you had known him forever. His personality filled the room. He was so incredibly generous, full of goodwill and charm, and his love for Sausalito. His love for this town was constantly on display. He constantly gave back. He ran almost every organization at one time or another, and he was committed to bringing positive change to the people who who call Sausalito home. He was a good and generous neighbor who always gave back. He was a good friend, a tireless public servant who served us for all of the right reasons. He's going to be dearly missed by all of us who are fortunate enough to know him, and Sausalito will forever be blessed by the legacy Herb has left behind.
So before anybody thinks I didn't get the memo about the black shirt and the jeans, Herbie knew I love Snoopy, and so he bought me this Snoopy sweater. And I was going to wear it, determined to wear it. So first I'd like to congratulate Mike Stone on the orientation of the tent. Herbie would always say, you can't see the city from the city. You have to see it from Sausalito. So, you know, you'd have to come to Sausalito to see San Francisco. So you're all seeing San Francisco from Sausalito today. Many of you don't know this, but in 2009, I have to get my tiara. But Herbie and I got married. I know you know me as Chris from the Bay Model, but I'm really Mrs. Weiner. We were in Japan, and when you're there, they always let the kids try on the, kimonos and things of that sort. They put the wedding kimono on me and proceeded to marry Herbie and I. And I think one of the pictures in the slideshow has me and Herbie married. So, interestingly enough, we had a very great relationship. We didn't have to live together. We didn't have to check in with each other. We could see each other when we wanted to, and then when we didn't want to. And it was really good. We got along very well. But when we came back, I thought, okay, that's the end of the marriage. He's not going to do that anymore. And he asked me to be his campaign manager when he was running for city council. And I had no idea about how to run a campaign, but I had worked on Buddy's campaign, so I did pay attention. And so I thought, okay, I could do this. And as many of you know, I don't even live in Sausalito, but I always say that I spend 99% of my life here. So I ran Herbie's campaign, and as you well know, Herbie never liked to talk to the press. And so, the press would call and ask an opinion on something. He said, I don't know, ask my wife. And they go, is he really your husband? I'm like, no. And I kept saying, Herbie, you got to tell me how you think about these, issues. I don't know. I mean, do you like this or don't like that? I don't know. You decide. He's like, oh my God. So I gave a lot of quotes to the press on behalf of Herbie. Anyway, it was pretty funny. And he continued, even last year when we went for the 30th anniversary, and we were in Sakaidae, he's like, where's my wife? Where's my wife? My wife needs to be here. My wife, And I was like, I'm right here. Don't worry about it, So, Wendy, I'm sorry you didn't know this, but I'm an official member of the family, whether you want to have me or not. As you all know, Herbie was also a Rotarian. And when I was president of the club in 2007-08, we named Herbie Rotarian of the Year. Of course, as you all know, we have to trick Herbie in coming to things in order to present him with any kind of an award. So we tricked him that night, and fortunately he showed up and we were able to give it to him in person. However, we were not so clever when it came to when he stepped down from the council. We had an award for him, and we've never been able to get him to a Rotary meeting to give it to him. And it is a Paul Harris Award. Paul Harris is the founder of Rotary, And it's awarded to someone who does a lot of good work in the world and in the community. And Herbie certainly did that. So I will give it to the family in his honor. And my favorite Herbie-ism was, he would always say, Chris, there's two kinds of people in the world. There's givers and there's takers. And Herbie was a huge, huge giver. So, love you, and he will forever be in my heart.
Hello, I'm Susan Rowe, the president of Sausalito Sister City Program. And in case you haven't figured it out, we have three. Thank you, Herbie. I'd like to call up Yoshi Tomei, Joan Cox, and Cheryl Pock. And on behalf of our three sister cities, they're going to be reading a few words that were gifted to us on behalf of how people felt about Herbie from a different country. Will you please come up? I'll be right back.
Hi there, I'm Councilmember Joan Cox, and I'm going to read a couple of letters that we have received from Viña del Mar, Chile, one of our sister cities. The first is from Virginia Reginato Bozo, Mayor of Viña del Mar. I direct myself to you in the name of the municipality of Viña del Mar to manifest our deepest condolences for the recent death of the ex-mayor of Sausalito, Mr. Herbert Weiner. I had the honor to meet Mr. Weiner through our Sisterhood Alliance between Viña del Mar and Sausalito since 1960. I had ratified with a visit to your beautiful city in July of 2011. During many years, we worked together in conjunction around important agreements in that I could recognize the deep vocation of public service of Mr. Weiner. Also, his will to see a fraternal walk between Sausalito and Viña del Mar from the distance. I am sure that the legacy of Herbert Weiner would last forever for Sausalito and his community, just like in Viña del Mar would last his remembrance and fraternal friendship and spirit of collaboration. I am saying goodbye, reiterating my condolences to the Sausalito municipality and the Weiner family. The next letter is from past president of AHEP, Jimena Silva. The first time I knew Herbie was in Viña del Mar with the first group that came to Chile in 2013. It was totally different from the image we have in Chile of a municipal authority. Dressed with jeans, tennis shoes with a t-shirt, of course without tie. When he spoke, was warm and close and talked to us about Sister City mission, about sisterhood and love, about humanity and close relation between people. Immediately, all our fears about cultural differences disappeared. He had that power, bringing worlds closer with his simplicity and transparency. Later, when I was able to participate in the wonderful experience in Sausalito, I could see that Herbie, wherever he was always the same, simple, deep, and human. The last time I saw him, he took me to the airport with everyone's suitcases in his yellow car. We talked about life and Sausalito, about important things and what I am not. Thank you, Herbie, for all the efforts you put into the Sister City program, which has been so important to us. You were the first recognizable face in Chile of Sister City, and you are an absolute symbol of what this relationship has been. Mutual affection, selfless work, and concern for others. And then the third letter is from Maria, the current president, Maria Antoinetta Alamand. Dearest Herbie, this is one of those moments that we would never want to live. There are not enough words that can express such a tremendous loss. How could we forget the first time that we met you in Viña del Mar? Even though we could not understand the language, we could feel the affection that you would transmit to us. And then you would welcome us in Sausalito with such caring. All those moments that we shared will stay with us as unforgettable memories in which we were so happy, full of dreams and big emotions. Your hard work and effort to promote the Sister City Project has managed to turn it into a beautiful cultural exchange that has enriched all those that have been part of it. Dear friend, today you leave our side to continue your path, and even though we are very sad, we wish you a nice journey full of blessing, for we shall never forget you, and you will forever live in our hearts. A big hug. And then I just wanted to say a couple of words about my experience of Herbie. So, how I really got to know Herbie well was when I ran against him for the City Council in 2010. And he was a gentleman throughout, and the last day before the election, we were standing across the street from one another in front of Molly Stone's, holding up our signs. And I walked across the street and I said, you know you're going to win this election by a landslide. And he said, yes, I know. And he said, but we should have coffee at Poggio the day after the election. And we did. And we became fast friends ever since. And in fact, he posted every one of my signs when I ran again for election in 2016, and of course was finally successful. So he was always there to help. When I was going to Japan for the first time to represent us with Sakaide for our anniversary, he went with me to every single store in Sausalito to gather souvenirs to bring with us, to give as gifts in Japan. When I went to visit each marina here in Sausalito to ask them to participate as a part of our Safe Harbor program, he came with me armed with a Sausalito Art Festival poster of the Golden Gate Bridge to give as a gift to each of the marina operators. And of course, every one of them to a person said yes to our Safe Harbor program. As Chris Gallagher said, Herbie said, some are givers, some are takers. Obviously, Herbie was a huge giver. He was so humble that many of us didn't understand the full breadth and depth of his gifts to Sausalito. But as you look at these 200 pictures that we've assembled, you can see how participatory he was throughout Sausalito. He gave so much, and we all benefited. He was the heart of this town, and so of course, he will live on in our hearts forever. Thank you.
Hi there, good afternoon. I'm Yoshitome, I run a sushi restaurant. I've been here a little over 30 years in this town. Day one, I met him. I always loved him. I really liked his beautiful smile and his personality. One day, I was at his gas station, pumping my gas, and said, hey, Harvey, how are you? And I asked him, just said, Harvey, how come you don't have a car repair department at this gas station? He looked at me and said, Yoshi, are you kidding me? When people have a car problem, you never ever make me happy. I like to be like your business. People go to your restaurant, everybody happy. I want to stay happy business. So people come here, pump gas, clean car, they're always happy. This many months I go, oh my gosh, this guy really knows about the business. That's why, since then, always remind me, I have to stay in happy business. No matter what, I gotta keep smile. That's learned from a hobby. So that's another quick story is my wife and I occasionally love to go to San Francisco Symphony. On the way I was standing in Caledonia Street called Share Ride Uber. And Harvey walked by, drove by, we said, okay, bye. And then 5 minutes later, my Uber, whatever reason, they will come. Hi, you guys okay? It's all good. 10 minutes later, he guys come out, you guys in trouble, get in here. And he drove us to San Francisco Davis Symphony, and I haven't paid him yet. So it's a good story, but Harvey was so much to us hard, and also today's event we asked Jeff Sherrod and I were together organized a lot of event. We asked the restaurant to donation, contribution, it was a very discount. But this time, everyone said, yes, what can I do? So after you might enjoy some sample of Sausalito restaurant. So I have a letter from Mr. Iso Shintani. He was the citizenship organizer Sakai City, Japan, 25 years. And also he was a president of a Rotary Club, and also he was president of Chamber of Commerce Sakai City. And he had been here 10 times. And the last time he was here, he stayed with the Herbie. This is a letter from him. Letter was sent to our president, Susan Law. I am sorry about the loss of the beloved Herb Weiner. After I suddenly heard from my dear friend Yoshitome that he had been hospitalized, I sent him a letter, shocked and worried. I heard that he passed away soon after that. From the beginning of our sister-city relationship, he never stopped supporting the exchange program. Over the years and visited Sausalito as many as 6 times. We were able to develop our friendship every time we met. I cannot forget how we got along. We are brothers, especially since I own a taxi company and he had a similar business. I had a friendly feeling for him. I will never forget his affable smile. When I stay at his wonderful house, when I visit Sausalito Art Festival with a member of the working group from Sister City Committee, it was the biggest and the most enjoyable event in my life. Every time I saw him, he would give me a present. One of my most humorous memories is when he gave me a blazer. And even though it was too big for me, I was impressed with his kind hospitality, and I was so thankful for his big heart. I retired as the chairperson of the Sister City Committee after the Sister City's 25th year anniversary celebration. Since then, I haven't had many chances to see him like before, but it was my greatest pleasure to see him again, our Sister City 30th anniversary celebration in Sakai last spring. It brought back many memories that we shared over the years. I'm very proud that I was able to work together with him for the development of our Sister City relationship, and it will always be my treasure for the rest of my life. Sincerely, condolence, Iso Shintani.
Hello everyone, I'm Cheryl Pop. I chair the Cascais, Portugal Sister City program, which Herbie established 6 years ago. I think it's very safe to say that this new Sister City relationship would not have happened if it weren't for Herbie's persistence. He is largely responsible for the internationally recognized Sister City Youth Sailing Exchange program that we now have with Portugal. I also traveled with Herbie to Chile when I chaired the Vina Del Mar Sister City program. And let me just say that traveling with that man was yet another experience. I don't tell you some of those stories, but suffice it to say there was never a dull moment. So I know Herbie from the Sister City programs, but also from living in Sausalito for 29 years and working with him on so many community initiatives. Whether it was bicycle congestion or ferry boat landings or signs, Jim Swindler, he'd grab me anywhere he could. Cheryl, we need a sign here. You're a marketing person. What should we do? Do you think this would work? What color? Where should we put it? I'd go, yeah, sure, anything, great. Most importantly, however, Herbie was also my neighbor and my friend. He was the man who helped me bury my cat, the guy who picked me up at the hospital after my hip surgery, the man who made terrible jokes about all the men I was dating. And while many are paying tribute to him today by wearing denim and a black tee, I actually thought about wearing a bathrobe. Because that's how we saw each other most often, in bathrobes, across the street from each other. Almost every morning, picking up newspapers, putting out the garbage, and hollering at each other about one thing or another. Jeff, he no longer had to jump in front of my car and tell me to roll down the window. He now could yell at me every morning across the street. The whole neighborhood enjoyed it. So who didn't love this character? He had more compassion than anyone, and he always spoke from the heart. We all know that he could be scrappy and stubborn, but he could also be tender, as noted in some of the international condolences I'm now going to share from our friends in Portugal. From Bernardo Correa de Barros, our sister city liaison in Cascais and head of tourism there. We will all miss our good friend Herb, his smile, his dedication, his commitment, and all that he did for our sister city program when he was mayor and long after when he retired. A major force of nature, Herb loved every minute of his life, always with a smile and always ready to help everyone. He loved ice cream because it made him smile. And he always said, do you ever see a person eating ice cream who isn't smiling? That's the best way I can describe him, the smile and the tenderness. The world lost one of its greatest, an extraordinary man. Herb will always be in our thoughts, a great man, full of joy, with a smile the size of the world. My deepest condolences to the city of Sausalito, to the Sausalito Cascais Sister City Group, to Herb's family, and his many, many friends. And on the more local Portuguese front, from Fernando and Wendy Oliveira, who were instrumental in creating our beautiful new Praça de Cascais. We will all miss Herb's smile and the fun he brought with him everywhere. We know he earned his angel wings and that he's still out there being dispatched by God and continuing to bless the world. We will miss him dearly. Always the smile. Who could forget or not mention that smile? None of us will. In closing, I want to say that the happiest people don't always have the best of everything. They just make the best of everything. And Herbie did. Let's always remember what I call lessons from Herb. Live simply, love generously, care deeply, and speak kindly. Thank you for all of the equals.
Today we're going to talk about food and Herbie. And Jeff touched upon it. And we will talk about the best chicken sandwich you've ever had in your life. Raise your hand if you've had one. Right? Herbie and I would hit the flea markets pretty much every Saturday and Sunday because we would have to buy things no one else wanted. So one day he called me and he said, Susan, you have to taste this chicken sandwich. So we're going to Oakland right now for lunch. We had just finished breakfast, but I said, okay, I can't think of anything better than going to Oakland for lunch, Herbie. So he picks me up and he starts to tell me the story of how this little place on the corner at 5089 Telegraph Avenue in Oakland always has a line. Anytime we were driving and there was a line, we would have to stop. And he'd say, get out of the car. Okay, go ask them, what are they doing? What service is it? What are they buying? If it's a line, we need to be there. Okay, so baked sale Betty's always had a line. She didn't have tables, so you didn't eat off the table, you ate off an ironing board. I knew the first time we walked in, we definitely had something special. That day, he bought 7 sandwiches for half of you people here, and I had my first taste. I'm sitting in the black peachy cruiser, Oakland Avenue, Telegraph, and I start to make noises when I took my first bite, right out of a hairy neck salad. Oh, I'm going, Herbie! Oh, I've never had a sandwich like this. People are looking in the car like, what is that woman? What? It was the most tasteful sandwich I'd ever had. The next Saturday, Susan, she always wears a blue wig. You got to go over to her in the blue wig. Tell her who we are. So this woman has her blue wig on, which is her signature. Her real name is not Bake Sale Betty. Shocker. Her name is Allison Baccarat. She studied at Shea Police under Alice Waters, and she decided to strike out on her own and buy this tiny little corner of a place and serve one thing: buttermilk fried chicken sandwiches. And that's all she has. And they were like $8. corporate headquarters with a brown bag. Everyone in the building smelled us coming. And people are like, what's in the bag? What's in the bag? The best chicken sandwich you've ever had. What makes it so good? Well, the owner, Gabrielson Park, told us it's in the secret sauce. Herbie goes, Susan, ask her the secret. He's standing right here. I said, you ask her the secret. Okay, you ask her. She's standing right here. And she goes, I don't give no secret out. However, why don't you come to my office, which was an ironing board, and 2 chairs, and she sat with Herbie and I for hours and hours and shared with us what makes this sandwich so good. So he's writing and I'm writing, and he goes, I have a great idea. Sausalito Arts Festival. We're going to sell them, Susan, we're going to make millions of dollars. Okay. We had to go to one place to get the chicken, we went to one place to get the coleslaw, there's no mayonnaise, we went to one place to get the buns, and we assembled these sandwiches at the Sausalito Arts Festival, donning our blue wigs and going, go Herbie, go Herbie. We didn't make one dime that year, not a dime, but we had the time of our life because he was a giver. He was a doer. He was a man that would bounce off the trampoline, unlike we do. He always wound up on his feet like a cat. And he was an amazing, amazing man. When we went out on our journeys, I never, ever knew what was going to happen. And I'd look over my shoulder and I'd say to my husband, Tony, pray for me. Just pray for me. We're going out with Herbie for the day. One of the things a couple of years ago, his sister Wendy and Herbie and I were in Angelino's having dinner. And we looked over and Carlos Santana's in front of us. And I said, oh, Wendy, should we go over and say hi? And Herbie said, if you do, I will be so embarrassed. What do you think we did? We went right over to the table, and he was very generous and very nice to us, and we talked a little bit about Sister City. Last week, in the Pacific Sun, I read an article about Carlos Santana's, who's here from Marin. And this is what he said. When a person is completely fulfilled with themselves, they have 3 things. They have heart, they have soul, and they have spirit. And Herbie possessed all of those characteristics in abundance. And he would always put someone else in front of himself. Always. So Herbie, your memory will bloom like a flower in the garden of my heart. Friends are the most important things in the entire world. Treasure your tears, treasure the laughter, but most importantly, treasure the memories of the crazy-ass good times that we shared. I miss our conversations on the phone every Saturday and Sunday when I'd say, hey, what's up? And he'd say, the sky. And every night when we would say good night, what would you say? What are you having right now, Herbie? And you'd go, ice cream. Thank you. I miss you.
Susan. So I'm Jonathan Logan, and I am the former general manager of the Marin City Community Services District. And I got the memo about blue jeans and black shirt, but I have a 10-day-old daughter, and prior to her being born, my wife kind of went crazy with pink shirts. And because she's just been born, I haven't been getting out much, so I didn't get laundry, so I didn't throw But I am just down and here to salute Herbie for his life and his legacy. We certainly have lost an icon in Sausalito and in Southern Marin more broadly. Zaire Yancey, who's in the back here, is a Marin City native. He told me stories of Herb being his baseball coach back in the 80s. And many of you guys have spoken about Herb and sort of his 40 years of living in Sausalito, but I remember having conversations with Herbie about his time prior to moving here and the social justice work that he did as a really passionate advocate and volunteer to help get folks elected to fight for civil rights and things like that. So Herbie had a special place in my heart, just to know that he was a man of just really deep conviction. there's one story that I'll tell that's kind of funny, I guess. Anchor and Bridgeway. When I worked in Marin City, I would come to Sausalito to eat periodically, and it was not a fluke to see her directing traffic right on that corner right there. And someone said he sort of possessed two things: the tender side, but he was also scrappy. And I guess I had only seen Herb's tender side because there was a cab that was parked in the wrong place, and Herb got the flail in his arms and telling the guy that he had to move. So the guy gets out of his car, a tall guy, and I look over, I'm like, I think we might have to jump this cab. But Herbie, he had it under control, and he made sure that the guy kept it moving. So it was just great to see him in his element. There's not a lot of people who are comfortable in their skin, but he certainly was. The last story I tell is one that's related to Marin City. When I was there, we were revitalizing the core of the community, and it started off with redeveloping Rocky Grand Park, and then the second phase was rebuilding the community center there. I ended up leaving before that project got off the ground good, but before we got started, I said we need some credibility, and we need some credibility in Sausalito. Who should we add to our team? And Herb Weiner was that guy. And so we brought him on, and me being a naive young guy, I said, you know, we're going to have these meetings, committee meetings, and from somehow, somewhere, you know, the plan is going to emerge, and it didn't happen that way. And so after one meeting, Herb comes up to me and he says, you know, John, you know, I really want to see this project happen, but I'm just not a committee person. And he said, when you guys get the plan together, just wind me up and let me go. I'll go all through the hills and I'll raise money for you, but I'm not going to be any more committee meetings. And I said, well, I appreciate your upfront and honesty. And so Herb is going to really be missed. He's someone that I think was extremely special, as evidenced by all of you guys that are here today. And before you leave, just ask yourself, what do you think Herbie would say if he knew all of this was going on for him?
For adjusting that microphone. So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sean Robacher, and I have the honor of serving as Sausalito's Chief of Police. It's a privilege to be here today with Herbie's family, many friends, to share a few stories about a man that clearly touched so many lives. I actually met Herbie before I was hired to work here. I just finished a job interview with Chief Scott Pollen, and we walked into the Spinnaker to have lunch with Adam for my second interview. As Scott and I walked past the Bank of America, we stopped to talk to this guy who was moving bike racks around in front of the bank. Scott introduced me to this guy whose name was Herbie, and told me that he was a member of the city council. I remember thinking, it must be a really tough gig to be a city council member if you have to work setting up bike racks. As we walked away to meet Adam, I asked Scott, what's going on with that guy and the bikes? He told me that's just the kind of person that Herbie was. The kind of person that would never ask someone to do something he wouldn't do himself. After I got the job, I had the opportunity to work with Herbie, especially during the first few years of our challenges with congestion management downtown. He started meeting me on Monday mornings in my office to review the weekend's events and make any changes to improve. That continued for the next 9 years. After that 9 years of listening to Herbie's infamous one-liners, it was first just the two of us. As we got to know each other better and learned that we both loved dogs, he started bringing Enzo. Enzo was not much for conversations, nor was he interested about the bicycles, but he sure liked the attention and the treats from the ladies at the police station, and he would jump off his chair at every opportunity. Herbie was clearly a get-your-hands-dirty kind of guy. He had a distinct affection for the working employees of the city and was always concerned about their welfare. He truly identified with the workers and never missed a chance to help
or show his concern. You probably know how much Herbie liked going to the swap meets. He was always bringing back something that he thought would be useful to us. One time he bought these poles that linked together the traffic cones that we use downtown and at our DUI checkpoints. He didn't believe the traffic cones were enough, didn't provide enough visibility, and he was concerned about our safety. So he bought these poles to ensure our safety and helped us set them up at the first checkpoint. As you already heard, Herbie had an addiction to signs. Herbie believed there was no such thing as too many signs, no matter what the historic landmark board might be. He would buy used traffic signs at the swap meet and then donate them to our inventory of signs. If he could not find the right sign, he would have one made. He usually got someone at City Hall to make the signs for him. It was only after Adam busted him for doing that Herbie got worried that he was going to get an employee in trouble. So what did Herbie do? He bought them himself. He didn't want to have anybody get in trouble for something that was his addiction. And there was also that point where our former Director of Public Works, Jonathan Goldman, told Herbie, if you put up any more unauthorized signs, you're going to have to find yourself another Director of Public Works. Herbie continued to help downtown nearly every day during the tourist season with setting up cones and barriers, and always while wearing his high visibility vest. We finally had to change the style of the vest he was wearing, as most people believed he was actually a member of the police force. If you know Herbie, you know he was a kind of a scrappy dude. And so he liked doing the work, he liked helping out, and he always said that his helping out meant that the DPW crews and the police employees could focus on other more important duties. He was just that kind of guy. And speaking of unselfish, you might not know that Herbie donated the money to help us purchase one of the 2 motorcycles that we use today. And that motorcycle is on display right there with Herbie's name on the front fender. I'm sure that like all of you that are here today to celebrate Herbie's life, I'm blessed to have Herbie as part of my life for the last 10 years. I'm already missing our Monday morning chats and get a little bit of love from Enzo.
Hello everyone, I'm Kate Sears, your county supervisor and long-time Sausalito resident. And for those of us in public office, really, Herbie has a special place in our hearts and in our memories. I'm sure many of you spent time at the breakfast table at Poggio with Herbie, engaging in a torrent of political gossip, scheming, and good advice. Herbie was really a master, as you've heard from some people, of the strategic placement of campaign yard signs, and no one could put a campaign sign on the ground as well as Herbie, so the wind could never ever blow it down, and you had a heck of a time getting it down when you needed to take it down. He was always supportive and always willing to offer help no matter what it was that you were doing. And I just learned today, my colleague Damon Connolly, Supervisor Damon Connolly, is in the audience, and he told me that Herbie credits him for teaching him how to dress in a political way. So I think that means that but for Damon Connolly, and we can debate whether this was worthwhile, we would not have a picture of Herbie with wearing a tie. So probably a good thing, but fortunately he didn't wear it too often. One of my very favorite memories of Herbie was walking with him in the 4th of July parade, which could be a real challenge because not only were you pulling a small wagon with his dogs in it, you were also throwing out candy for the kids and dog bones, dog biscuits for the canine crowd at a rate that was so fast and furious, I had just a heck of a time keeping up with him. He was so enthusiastic, he had such a great desire really to touch everyone who he passed, that it was a heck of a challenge and an incredible amount of fun. Herbie really was a natural relationship builder and a collaborator. Whether it was with folks of the Golden Gate Bridge District trying to better manage the ferry and the bikes getting onto the ferry, or it was folks who live on the water on Richardson Bay. Herbie wanted to talk and he wanted to listen. He wanted to create connections with everyone, and through those relationships, to do what was best for Sausalito. What surprised me the most about Herbie as I got to know him was how perceptive and intuitive he was about other people and about himself. He cared about people, and he cared about how people treat each other. And he thought deeply about how we all could and should do better. And it's because of how much Herbie cared for people, how much he loved Sausalito, and how much he wanted to do the right thing that we will always remember him.
I'm Herb's sister, Herbie Jr. I just wanted to say thank you to the city of Sausalito. Thank you for the special people who organized this celebration of life in memory of my brother. Herbie may have been born and raised in the East Coast in Boston, Massachusetts, but his home was on the West Coast, here in California, in Sausalito. He served the city in many different capacities and wore many different hats. And every hat he wore it with love and passion, and maybe a little bit of stubbornness. There's a saying that I shared with some people. A bell is not a bell until you ring it. A song is not a song until you sing it. And love is not love until you give it. And my brother gave this city his love. If you knew him or met him, he was unforgettable. And today's celebration will be as unforgettable as the man my brother was. Thank you for sharing and loving him.
I had the pleasure of knowing her for 42 years. 1976, Herb came to Sausalito. First time to see Herb. He has a service station, a Shell station, which is across the street from K-Strip Rome, used to be Cafe Trieste, which is now an office building. He's in the middle of Bridgeway. He has a California driver who was trying to go into his gas station in the exit. Now, this is the days where you had a gas station with two pumps, one on each side, you could get in, two cars. This guy passed the station, decided he was going to come back in the other way. I didn't know what Boston was like. I found out what Boston was like. Herb was a trip, and he was always a trip. Fabulous guy, wonderful friend. I notice a lot of people here with buttons that say, I like Herb. Everyone that likes Herb, stand up. Okay, now, go to the person on your left and to your right and say, how are you doing? How you doing? Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's strange what words mean and how we look at words. When I saw the IJ obit, it said, beloved former mayor of Sausalito. And I thought, beloved, God, is that something that I hear when people have been married for 50 years, and they look at one another and say, my dearly beloved. Guess what? Herbie was dearly beloved by Sausalito. Beloved means generous, friendly, considerate, and kind. Think about that for a moment. Kind, soft-spoken, easy, having a good time, someone you could count on. You never had to think about him. His email was up for days at AOL.com. It didn't matter what time of the day or night. Herbie was there. If Herbie said he was going to be there at 4 o'clock in the morning, he was there at 4 o'clock in the morning. If you needed him to pick you up at the airport at midnight, he was there. Every morning. There wasn't a lady in this town who owned that gas station that ever pumped her gas. Because even when we had to pump our gas by ourselves, nobody. If Herbie saw you, he pumped your gas. He was that kind of a guy. We really got to know each other in the 80s, into the 70s, when the gala and the art festival became part of our lives. In the middle of the night, we're picking up cigarette butts. In those days, there were a lot of them. We were putting tables and chairs and dishes in the back of a van, and we're going to San Francisco to drop them off at the caterer because it was cheaper that way. We were always looking for a save a buck. Herbie sees a red light. We're on Lombard. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. We figure we got it made. I said, Herb, and he knows the back of the truck. If he puts the brake on, the whole thing's going to come forward because we didn't stack it that well. Now it's going to be okay. You know, the red light came right behind him. As best he could, he got the ticket. Finished up and said, you know, he was just doing his job. And I said, Herbie, it was 4 o'clock in the morning. He said, yeah, but he was still doing his job. Never a problem. He was always kind. 1992-93, Herbie became something that never had happened before. He became the president of the Chamber of Commerce and the president of the Rotary Club. Great times. As a Rotarian, Herbie was very shy. Really, truly had never ever spoken to a group of people. So the State of the City dinner that year, I believe, I'm not positive, but I think it was a comedian. And Herb had to welcome everyone. And he looked at it and said, what am I going to do? So I had an envelope in my pocket. I pulled it out and I wrote down, welcome. I'm glad you're here. I hope you have a nice evening. Herbie said, welcome. I'm glad you're here. I hope you have a nice evening. He turned around and sat down. That particular year as a Rotarian and as the Chamber President, he wanted to make a statement. He convinced Steve Bogle, then the fire chief, to go to Sebastopol with him because he wanted to put a couple of Christmas trees in Vina Del Mar Park. Now, he had a pickup. He had a 20-foot trailer. Now, picture this, 20-foot trailer, pickup. The two of them get up to Sebastopol, and they see this tree. It was absolutely gorgeous. It had a sister tree next to it. It was equally gorgeous. So they decided to get both of them. They were 40 feet tall. All right, the two of them down the trees, put them on the trailer, tie them down. Now in California there's a law, Chief John will tell you this, over 4 feet at the end you have to have a red tag. We're talking about 10 feet off the end, the tree hanging up at both sides. They made the first tree from Sebastopol to Sausalito to Vina Del Mar Park, dropped it in the park and turned around and go back to get the second one. Now, they've made the first time, they figure they got it. All right, second time down, they're out on Highway 101, and we figure it had to be someplace around Strawberry, when a CHP officer going north sees this crazy group of guys on the other side, makes a U-turn and comes back, catches up with him in front of 7-Eleven on Bridgeway, pulls him over, want to see your license. I want to see your registration, and what in the hell are you doing? I got a call about that time saying, you got to see this. From someone that was watching. They also called the police department. Now at that time, it was a small town. Somebody, I have no idea who it was, called the police department, and Bill Frass was the chief. I think Bill's here. Bill, is this a true story? Yeah, there he is. True story. Hands the phone to the CHP officer, and I don't know what Bill said, how he did. He says, I'll take Herbie into custody. The guy got in his patrol car and drove off. And Bill, I don't know what you did with him that night, but it happened. Funny thing about the trees, both trees went up in the park. They were so damn heavy. By the end of Christmas, they tried to get them back out of the park. They had sunk so far into the ground, they had to come in with a crane to pull the damn things out. He also loved Christmas. Santa Claus was the big thing back in 92, 93 for all the kids in town. And I know Adam for sure. Hot Wheels were a great thing in 93, 94. Herbie would go around to all the Shell stations that were giving out Hot Wheels to the kids and the customers and collect them all for all the kids in Sausalito. And I mean, he had a collection and he would give them to everybody. I'm sure Adam still has a few in the drawer. Got to keep them around. There are a lot of stories. Herbie was a lightweight when it came to alcohol. One drink, that's all it took. That was all. Okay, couldn't have a second one, didn't even try. There was a Tuesday, we called Black Tuesday, when the Chamber of Commerce decided that they were going to do something different for the art festival, and there was a group of 5 of us that were kind of on the committee for the art festival, and on the committee for the Chamber, and on the committee for the Rotary Club. And for some reason, the Chamber decided that they were going to do something different. And so we said, okay, we quit. Well, it was 8:15 in the morning, and we all went to Smitty's. Now, it's a fact, Mike Stone was found behind his desk on the floor at noon. I had an appointment at 1 o'clock that night, I do not remember. Nora fell down one of the steps behind Yoshi's. You know, it's one of those things. Herbie was a lightweight. Dan was fun. Rotary has a motto called service above self. Herbie was everything that Rotary was and is. Service above self. In every way. The year that he was president, 1992-93, there was also a motto for the year. And that motto was, believe in what you do what you believe in. Not a better motto could have ever been written for anyone like Herb. It was exactly who he was, what he was, everything he ever did. Believe in what you do and do what you believe. Herbie was kind, really kind. It means being friendly, it means being generous, it means being considerate in nature, and Herbie was friendly. How you doing, how you doing? Just thought, how easy is that? But Herbie could do it just like that. He had a way to do it that he always smiled and he said, yeah, I'm doing okay. The thing that was great about Herbie's day was it was always full of goodness. The dogs were always there. You think about all the dogs, all the good times. There was something that was part of Herbie's life. He had dog business at the gas station before any store in town had dog business. Herbie loved dogs. Herbie made sure everybody got this fit. He was generous. His time, absolutely for sure. But also his pocketbook. Chief just talked about the motorcycle. The number of times that Herbie would say something very quiet. Well, so-and-so needed this, so-and-so needed that, and all of a sudden it just kind of happened because Herbie was there. Someone down in their luck, he was compassionate. He knew exactly what he was doing. He was also the financial barometer in the 90s in Sausalito. When things were bad, all of a sudden cash wasn't king, it was the credit card. He'd stop at the bank and go, tell Morris, look, guess what? Things are going to be a little bit different here. financial world's changing a little bit. He knew what was going on. He knew everybody in town. He knew what was going on. He had a good time. He was always, his finger was there. He knew what was happening. He had a feeling of the town, had a feeling of the people, and he loved everybody he touched. Herbie was considerate. I don't remember anyone having a bad word to say about Herbie. And I don't particularly remember anybody that Herbie didn't like. Now, that doesn't mean that Herbie had a way to say hello to someone he didn't like and kind of put them in the unkind category. He couldn't say, I don't particularly care for that person because it wasn't his nature. But there were certain people that he wasn't that generous with his love to everyone. He was easygoing and having a good time, and he definitely was considerate. He also opened the car wash in Nevada, in Osmar. I don't know where you are, but please raise your hand and just wave for a second. Started with Herbie here in Sausalito, now the owner of the car wash in Nevada. One of Herb's absolute quality people, and continues Herb's tradition of service for all of his customers. Jack Tabor, his accountant, is the guy that Herbie would always say, "It's nothing like it. It's been my accountant for a long time. I hope he's still around for a long time." In addition, Herbie was a patron of the arts. We didn't know that. But there's a guy back in 1970, thereabouts. His name was John Lennon. And John bought a Rolls Royce right-hand drive and picked up in London. He had it shipped to Boston or New York or wherever it was. And Herbie saw that and thought, you know, this looks like a great deal. Over the next 5 years, Herbie imported 50 plus Rolls Royces, right-hand drive, and Bentleys, and sold them to everybody in Boston, New York, you name it. That was Herbie's gift. He still has one left, and I think it's in Nevada, but I'm not sure. The little Bentley convertible. Herbie was a business guy, patron of the arts. Good for John Lennon, it was good for Herbie. He also, if you remember, there was a kind of a controversy about where we were going to put the mermaid. Who was it that came to the rescue? Herbie found a strip of land that everybody in town could have a great time looking at that beautiful mermaid that Gene Wasser put together. Loved it. He was a wonderful guy. Patron of the arts. If you found something that excited him, you knew about it. Andrea Pacelli, I pull in the gas station to get some gas. He runs up, throws a CD at me, put it in your car right now. I don't know what's going on. This guy is great. He's got his hair in. He's incredible. That was Herbie. He loved finding things, exploring them, sharing them with your friends, his friends. He was there. Herbie was a foodie. You just heard about it. Get in the car, and off we go to Mission Street. Why? Because the best ice cream was out on Mission Street. Get in the car, off to Oakland, because what are we going to do? We're going to have, you got it. Get in the car, we're going to Boston. And we flew to Boston. Oh my God. Herbie took me to the car wash in Boston. Okay, Herbie grew up, his father had the taxi company in Malden. It was the part of Boston. They ran the taxis. They also had a car wash that was a block long. It got to be so busy and it ran so many cars through that they put a second line alongside of it. And not positive, but I think the world's record for the most cars washed in 1 hour was Herbie in Boston. Speaking of car washes, Herbie remodeled a car wash sometime in the 90s. And there was a group of us that get together on Tuesday night for dinner and to celebrate our good friend, Harry Smith. And for some crazy reason, we decided before the car wash was going to be turned on, we would have dinner inside the car wash. Nancy Bruin showed up with candelabras. Art had a barbecue on the side. We had Thanksgiving dinner in the car wash. Clarence came. I just go down the list of all the people who were there. The biggest problem, Herbie said, I can never do this again. There's so many people mad at me for not being invited. Herbie was a horticulturist. He loved his garden. It was his solitude. It was beauty. It was his creation, and he loved it. He also had a wholesale license. So if you knew Herbie and you needed some plants, who'd you call? He'd show up with a truckload of plants for you. Lots of benefits knowing Herbie. Herbie loved to travel. Took cruise to Mexico with us. Steve told us every morning, get up 6 o'clock in the morning, he was out on the deck, Herbie was waiting for the walk around the deck. But we couldn't let him drink at night. One drink, he was gone. I remember a trip we took to Bali, 2 of us walking through the rice paddies, thinking, oh my God, are we lucky we didn't have to do this in Vietnam. Amazing guy, lots of fun, always a good time. Visited all the sister cities more than once. Herbie is a legend. It's my hope that we can have a yearly Herbie Award given to someone who best emulates the kind person Herb was. It would be a lovely tribute to his memory. Thank you. Let's see again with his hand up.
Get up there, we dump all the papers into a big bin, and it's for the water out. They recycled everything in those days. It was about the water. That was my first time really, I realized it was just a giver.
He was totally a giver. I want to leave you with one thought. I truly believe that in this life, we never really leave this planet until the last person alive with your memory leaves. Herbie's with all of us. He will always be with all of us. There are 12 restaurants that have wonderful food. There's some wonderful beverages, but first, you gotta have some ice cream. Enjoy, everyone. Thank you so much for being here.